Welcome to the We Inspire Futures podcasting project. Today, I had an interesting conversation with friend and colleague Christine Jenkins. Listen as Chris J. and I chat about a controversial issue involving a 9-year-old and her blog about cafeteria food in the UK.
Well, yesterday I read an article in the Toronto Star, and it was about a little 9-year-old girl named Martha Payne from the UK, and she had her own blog, which impresses me in and of itself, but she was taking photographs of her school cafeteria food, posting them online, and then rating the meals, she was using the blog to raise money for a charity, which is also very admirable, I think, of a 9-year-old. We can consider her a primary student by Canadian standards. And she was using the blog as a way of raising money for the charity called Mary's Meals. And on Friday of just this past week, the local council authority, they're called in the UK, pulled her out of math class and through the principal told her that she wasn't allowed to take photographs of the school cafeteria food anymore. And so she went back to her blog and posted her last blog as saying, I won't be able to take photographs of food anymore. Sorry about that. The school says I can't do it. And at that point, the blog starts to get a lot of hits, one of them being Jamie Oliver, who gets his 2.3 million viewers behind her and encourages her to keep going. And I think by the end of the day, she had 4 million hits on her blog about food and had now raised $71,000 for the charity Mary's Meal. And then the local school authority reneged their ban and said she could continue. And so I thought to myself, we talk about the power of the pen. And I'm thinking, here's a 9-year-old girl who's affecting change through her writing. And I thought to myself, as a primary teacher, we've got to change the way that we teach writing. And it isn't going to be starting in the junior grades, and it isn't going to be starting in high school. It's going to be starting in grade 1. So what am I going to do as a primary teacher?
Jamie Oliver, I know him from TED Talks. I know him from the television, I know him from his cookbooks, but he just did a TED Talk about hunger and about how we had to change the way we're eating, and that's his agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
So he made the connection.
His own motivation. Mm-hmm.
And he made a connection with her because of it, and then he jumped on and put his power behind her. And isn't that an interesting switch of roles? Usually younger people get behind their role models, whereas this role model got behind a young person. And that is a real statement to the power of the internet these days and the power of students to influence change for adults.
And Janet Lee, in addition to, making a connection with Jamie Oliver, I was thinking to the sort of simplistic nature of reading and writing strategies that we use typically in primary classrooms about, we say, a text to self, a text to text, and then a text to world. And yet this 9-year-old kid has made an authentic text to world in terms of having Jamie Oliver get 2.3 million his viewers behind her little blog through one Twitter message.
Wow, with lightning speed.
It completely minimizes all of the little trivial things that we do now that we put it in the context of social media and the internet. When I was reading the story about Martha's blog, I thought to myself, I always teach writing or begin my every writing lesson or every writing assignment with the topic of audience and purpose. Like, who are we writing this for and why are we writing it? And I thought, if I was using the text form of a blog or an email in terms of getting to purpose and audience, I would probably find that my students were much more engaged, or that that I was able to create a truly authentic audience in order to teach audience and purpose. Focus on spelling and spaces and all of that other little editing stuff that tends to get primary writing into a deep hole of boredom.
And also, I mean, when students actually know that they will have responses right away, I think that really will spur them on. And I mean, if your students can have the purpose of, you know, speaking to a specific audience, that audience could also be your classroom. And I mean, their peers could be responding back and building a whole different argument out of those comments back and forth. And I really think that helps students with providing each other with effective feedback.
I agree. Yeah, because the feedback now becomes not just some sort of student or teacher conference. It actually becomes an authentic feedback.
Absolutely.
Over something that has an authentic purpose. I agree.
What was Martha's social responsibility here? And did she go over the line by posting those photographs? And I mean, let's think about what those lunch ladies feel now, or those lunch people.
That's a fabulous question, Jenny, because that was one of the components of the Toronto Star article. Was they quoted the local council authority as saying that the lunchroom workers or the cafeteria workers were in fear of their jobs.
Yeah, and I mean, how could this young girl possibly know the implications of what she was writing, what she was posting? You know, and there's your social responsibility. I mean, you've got to think of not only your own perspective, I'm a kid and I'm not really enjoying these lunches, compared to, you know, this is someone's livelihood. This is what somebody does for a living. Maybe they're very proud of what they've put forward. So what's a different way that maybe Martha could have changed the situation without harming other people? And what sort of conversations can you have with the students in a safe way that will help her to understand the other perspective? I mean, I think we lower the bar for primary students, saying, you know, oh, they couldn't possibly understand this conversation. They couldn't possibly understand that situation. Well, I think it's our challenge as educators to kind of get in there and say, well, what sort of questions do I need to ask her? And what sort of a conversation can I have with her so that she does understand that other point of view? And instead of lowering the bar, we need to raise the bar for this, because if we don't, then our students are just, you know, out there making a difference in a very bad way for some people. And that's their social responsibility.
So I guess we can wrap this up by saying, you know, is it the power of the pen for good or for evil? And can primary students get there? I think they can.
Yeah, I'd like to know what other people think of this. You know, do you think that students can get to this awareness piece? Do you think it's possible? And if it is, how do we do that? And how can we collaborate to kind of make that happen?
And you know what? I think other people have done it. Thank you, Janet Lee.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this We Inspire Futures conversation with my friend and colleague Chris Jenkins. The description includes the article and blogs mentioned. How do you think teachers can facilitate conversation and action when it comes to social responsibility in the primary classroom? We'd love to hear your voice.